A connection to 7th grade, but then we're going to entwine it with the lovely algebra of 8th grade. That sounds like a good time. We're going to be talking about absolute value and equations. And then we're going to talk about absolute value and inequality. So I need to remind you, it's one of those 7th grade standards. Absolute value means distance from 0. And if you recall from 7th grade, it's those vertical lines. I'll show you an example. It would be like, how far from 0 is 5? So that's the absolute value symbol. It's the two vertical lines. So the absolute value of 5 is 5, because it's 5 away from 0. But there's also two things 5 away from 0. Negative 5, the absolute value of negative 5. How you say this to yourself, how far away from 0 is negative 5? 5. So there's always two numbers that are equidistant from 0. Equidistance means same distance, okay? And so that brings me to the lovely cases. There are always two cases to absolute value. It can be a positive number or it can be negative. Ooh, look. As you can tell, I didn't teach 8th grade last year, so I forgot I even had this. What do you think I should put here? Can be blank or blank. I just told you.
Negative.
Yes, it can be positive or it can be negative. It can never be negative at first, because absolute value is always positive unless you have that drop down. Carter, shut that up. So for example, if I had the absolute value of x is 6, that's saying what numbers are 6 away from 0 on a number line? Well, 6 is 6 away from 0. What else is 6 away from 0?
Negative 6.
X is 6 or x is negative 6. That is the foundation to be successful today. If you can understand that each absolute value has two answers. If I said, what's the absolute value of x equals 3? That means what two numbers are 3 from 0? Oops, I did 3. Are 3 from 0? Well, x is 3. Or x can be 3 to the left, negative 3. That is the foundation of today. To be able to know that two numbers are equidistant from 0. You have your left-hand side and your right-hand side. So x equals 4, I'm saying to myself, what numbers are 4 from 0? You might even want to write that little question down. Write it down so you know for the test. What numbers are 4, look what I did, like little quotations, are 4 away from 0? Well, there's 2 of them, okay? So I would go like this on a number line. You don't have to draw this. We're going to do it algebraically as 8th graders, but just to give you a 0 or a visual, if I had 0 here, I'd have 1, 2, 3. A positive 4 is 4 away. 1, 2, 3. And negative 4 is also 4 away. They are both 4 away or 4 hops from 0. And again, that's just a random visual to really get you to see what I'm talking about is distance. Distance with absolute value is always positive at first. Here's how you actually write your answers down today. You would say x equals 4 or x equals negative 4. So you actually have 2 x's with any absolute value. So just kind of like how compound had 2 different things, absolute value is going to have 2 different things. So we'll do it the more algebraically here. The absolute value of x is 5. So that means what 2 numbers are 5 from 0? X can be what? Tell me. 5. Or x can be what?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Now this seems all fine and dandy, like what's the big deal? It's going to be positive or negative. Oh, you get into deeper algebra. Don't worry. There's going to be equations in here. The absolute value of x is negative 2. Heck no. There is no way that can happen because notice absolute value is always a positive at first. We make our negative. So since this is negative, we say no solution. We have to make our negative case. We have to make our negative case. If it's negative at first, it is no solution. And if you connect that to your 7th grade knowledge, like the absolute value of 6 is 6, negative the absolute value of 6 would be 6, drop down the negative. It can only be a negative if the negative is on the outside of the absolute value sign. And so since the negative, it's just absolute value, there's no way. And notice that's right here. It can never be negative at first. Maybe should we make a visual? So on the test, this always makes kids struggle. It's pretty abstract. So if I had like the absolute value of x equals -3, you would say no, it can't because of that negative. Elias, be writing stuff down. Okay, moving on. Moving on to some better algebra, bigger and better things right now. Don't worry. I am switching this note page to solve. All right, let's do it. Now this is the end of our first. We're going to do this. And then it's going to be your first homework assignment for 3-7. Again, we're breaking 3-7 into 3 days. So you're going to solve just like we did on the first page, except there's going to be stuff in the middle. Okay? So you're going to have to solve with a couple things in the middle. The first thing you want to do is make sure the absolute value sign is alone. That's what you got to do. And then you got to create your cases. So absolute value, remember you have a positive case or a negative case. Positive number or negative number. And remember, that stems before we get intense here, because this is going to get intense. Before we get intense, it all stems from that first page. And you guys seem like you understood that. Like if I had the absolute value of x is 5, you said, well, 5 is 5 away from 0, and -5 is 5 away from 0. Okay? All right, here I go. The absolute value of x minus 1 equals 5. So I have 2 cases. I need whatever is inside there. X minus 1 needs to equal a positive 5. Or the absolute value of whatever is inside there, x minus 1, needs to be a -5. You got 2 cases. Lucky you. 2 different algebra problems again, just like compound inequalities. Solve them both. +1, +1, x is 6. +1, +1, be careful for your integers, x is -4. Feel free to do that lovely checking of your work and make sure that it's really 5. So if I plug it in, 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 is 5 away from 0. Heck yeah, I found it. Put a -4 in. -4 minus 1, -5. -5 is 5 from 0. Did it? Yes, I did it. Next one. The absolute value of 2x minus 1 equals 7. So that means whatever is inside here needs to be 7 from 0. So I need to make my 2 cases. I'm going to say 2x minus 1 equals a positive 7, or 2x minus 1 equals -7. Sorry that my algebra is a little messy. And then solve them both. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. 2x equals 8. X is 4. Notice that now I'm getting really fast with that last step of dividing. Add 1 to both sides. Be careful for your integers. 2x is -6. Now divide. X is -3. So those are my 2 answers. X is 4 or x is -3. Again, you can plug in. So if I plugged in just to make sure I did it, it should be 7 or -7. So I'm going to put 4 in here. 2 times 4 is 8. Take away 1 is 7. 7 is 7 away from 0. Yep, I found it. I'm going to plug a -3 in. 2 times -3 is -6. Take away 1 is -7. -7 is 7 away from 0. I found it. Again, you're talking about distance from 0. I want to go ahead and just change these last two because you don't multiply is a lot easier than the add subtract ones. And I see here I don't have any of them. So can you just cross this part out on your notes and let's make a couple different ones? They're easier. The add subtract ones are the harder ones. So make absolute value of 5x equals 20. And then make absolute value of x over 7 equals 2. Okay, just make those two. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is make my cases. So I'm saying here the absolute value is 20. That means what two things are 20 away from 0, but you also have to times it by 5. So what I would say is 5x is 20, or I can be on the left-hand side of 0. 5x is -20. You make your two cases. Okay, divide by 5, x can be 4. Divide by 5, x can be -4. Now this is what I'm talking about. When you have multiply, divide ones, it's the positive answer and the next. It's just one, but when you add and subtract, it's not, notice this wasn't up here, it wasn't 6 and -6. They're different answers. But when you multiply, divide, it's always the number and the negative number. Okay, and again, you can plug in. So if I plug my 4 in, 5 times 4 is 20. 20 is 20 from 0. Did it.
Wow.
Plug my -4 in. 5 times -4 is -20. -20 is also 20 away from 0. So good thing I'm amazing at this. Yep. Okay, now I have x over 7 equals 2. So what I need to do is make my cases. I want to know what things divided by 7 is 2 away from 0. So I know that it can be 2, and I know it can be -2. So x over 7 is 2, or make it neg. X over 7 is -2. Too bad you can't see that good. And then guess what? You have to times it, right? Because you're dividing. So to get rid of divide, we're going to times. So times by 7, times by 7. X is 14. Or, lucky for us, anytime you multiply or divide, it's just positive or negative of the initial case. So times by 7, times by 7. X is -14. You can't see my algebra very good, but what I did is times by 7. And that was my negative case. So -2 times 7 is -14. Again, you could plug in. So plug your 14 in. 14 over 7 is 2. 2 is 2 away from 0. Sweet. And plug your -14 in. -14 divided by 7 is -2. -2 is 2 away from 0. We did it. We did it so good. But just be careful because here's what kids think. They think, okay, I'm going to solve the initial one and just make the other answer the negative. That will work with multiply, divide, but it does not work when you add or subtract. Okay? So just be very careful for that. And remember, if it's negative at first, which I don't think I have any in our homework, but if it's negative at first, it is a no solution.